Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Fantasy Football Three-Way. This week, because Murr's got a gimpy computer, it's just the Ultimate Fantasy Two-Way. More of a tag team with me and Lear, even though I'm in Michigan and Lear's back in Kansas City. We'll be giving you all the breakdown action of this week, week 16 of the NFL slate. And with that said, we're going to start off with Lear breaking down the New England at New York Jets game. It is a 46.5 over-under. The Patriots are currently favored by 3. Lear, give us that breakdown, buddy.
All right, man. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Week 16. Big week for us here, me and Papa. But this is going to be one of my favorite games going into this week. I think it's going to have a potential to be a very high-scoring game. You got New England Patriots at the New York Jets. As far as the Patriots side of this, how it goes, Patriots are coming off a win at home against Tennessee, 33-16. This week they're going into a hostile environment in New York. They have been playing very well. So this should be a great matchup and game overall, I think. Belichick has always disdained the Jets. He has that hatred for them. So I think he's going to come out guns blazing this week. So he'll have the Pats on high alert. You start off with Tom Brady. He's coming off a couple of average games, 18 fantasy points each. His cost is, the highest out of all the available quarterbacks at 7,500 there. He's going up against a tough defense in the Jets on the road. Not going to have much exposure personally to Tom Brady this week. But as far as that goes, there's, better options when it comes to your quarterbacks. As far as the running back side of this, you got James White, who's 4,700. He's coming off a game in which he paid basically 5 times his salary at 20.7, which is 99% of his points came from the air. He only had 1 rushing attempt for 6 yards. So most of that 20.7 was all in the air. Then you got the other option, Brandon Bolden, 3,800, had 10 rushing attempts for 36 yards, 2 catches for 18 for a 7.4. Just inconsistent with him. And then you have this other guy, this Joey Iosefa.
Yeah, fantasy irrelevant, so let's move on.
3,800, had 14 rushing attempts. He did have 51 yards, so he did have the most rushing attempts out of any of the running backs there. But pretty much just avoiding the New England backfield altogether is just a cluster like always, so no point in really going in that direction. But then you've got Gronk, who's 7,600. He had 5 catches for 54 and a touch last week on 11 targets. The Jets are ranked 5th against the tight end, so Gronk will have a tough matchup. But he should be a lower-owned guy due to his matchup and his cost this week. So if you kind of want to get out there on an island with the Gronky Kong this week, I think it's a good week for it. Then you got Brandon LaFell at 4,500, had a 12.8 last week with 4 catches for 88 yards on 5 targets. Danny Amendola, 5,600, questionable. He only had 1 catch for 3 yards, basically irrelevant last week. And then Julian Edelman, who's 7,000, he's listed as doubtful, so I don't think he's going to play. But look for LaFell to be Brady's main wide receiver threat this week when it comes to the passing game. But it's just kind of been all over the place with that New England Patriots team. They keep getting it done. It's just who's going to do it.
Well, fair enough, dude. I do like the Patriots this week. I have a couple of problems. First of all, if Amendola is out with injury, that means Revis Island is on LaFell, and you couldn't pay me to roster him, right? Like, even though Revis has gotten beat by premier wideouts in the past, LaFell's not that. LaFell's good, but he's not that.
No, I agree with you. That's why I said he's just going to be his main target.
Yeah, see, I think it'll be Gronky Kong, and I think that's what justifies you spend on the salary. But we'll get more to that a little bit later in the segment. But so let's talk about this Jets side, Lear. Who do you like on the Jets?
Well, as far as the Jets goes, their breakdown, they're having a very good season under new head coach Todd Bowles. So they won Saturday night 19-16 over Dallas. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's 5,200 this week, he had a decent game with 299, passing yards and a touch for a 16.26. He was on a hot streak there for 3 out of his last 4 games. He has a tough matchup this week, against the secondary. Is suspect though. as far as New England is concerned. Fitzpatrick's been playing better versus on the home versus on the road. He's got a 21.1 point average at home versus a 17.2 on the road. Then you got Chris Ivory at 4,700. He's been falling off in production as of late as the season's progressed on. Last week he only had 13 rushing attempts for 37 yards. So that's just abysmal yards per average there, and he only scored a 5.2. And New England ranks 10th against the run. So, but then you got another guy that I really do like this week, Bilal Powell at 3,900 is opposite of Ivory. He's been trending very well of late. Over his last 3 games, he's averaged 21.63 points per game. With his cost, he is a really sneaky, sexy play who should get his against New England, and he's healthy right now, so that's always good for him because he's always done well when he's healthy. Then you've got Brandon Marshall at 7,600. He had 4 catches for 74 yards, 11.4, which is disappointing, but I like his matchup this week. And then you got Decker at 6,500. He had an average game last week at 17.5, but that's pretty much average for Decker. His season total average is 17.5, so pretty crazy. He averaged his season average last week. He's a cheaper option, but hasn't had a game like Marshall and scored more than 23 points during the season. So Marshall is by far the more expensive, but the better option to blow up as far as if you want somebody to go ham. So
yeah, my worry here is that the Patriots have a shutdown corner, and the dude's amazing. Right, the other side of the field is how you attack them. And last game, he was on Decker like the entire game. Didn't even line up against Marshall once. And part of me wonders if that's Bill Belichick trying to get crafty, and so it'll be on B Marsh or something. I just don't know, and I'm really worried about because you don't want whoever he's shadowing, right? He's just shut everybody down, even the premiers. So I don't that's what concerns me on that part of the game. I absolutely love the Powell play though, and if you can figure out which one of them he's not going to be covering, I love that receiver too. Belichick, we're not going to know until game time, and so that makes me do you really want to be in some of these GPPs, especially, or if think about it more for a cash game, right? That's just a risk you can't take, in my opinion. So maybe for a tournament, not for cash games, though. All right, that wraps up that game and brings me to my first game of the week that I'm going to be breaking down for you, and that is the goodness known as Carolina at Atlanta. It is a 47.5 over-under. The Panthers are currently favorites by 7 points on the road. I think this starts off with Cam Newton at 7,500. The guy's been an absolute beast. Will continue to be a beast. I think the only problem here is game flow. Will Atlanta even answer back? And that's the real question here. I think that Cam and them get it just on the basis that they don't really have a legit running attack, but I'll flush that out just a little bit more up ahead. The receiver you want here is Ginn. Obviously, he's coming off of 3 monster games in a row. He's still way underpriced at 4,900 on DraftKings. I think he's a great buy, especially if you're pairing him with Cam or if you're looking for value at wide receiver. Realize he's a big catch wide receiver. He's not going to put up amazing catch lines. But every week, for some reason, he's putting up the yardage and getting a touchdown. So I think you're safe, especially at a $4,900 price tag. The play, I think, is the premier play to pair with Cam. And to be honest, I don't have a problem if you pair Cam, Ginn, and Olsen together. At $7,000, I think Olsen makes a great play with the matchup. Atlanta is one of the worst teams in the league against tight ends. That's the route I would go. Olsen is always Mr. Reliable. He's going to get you 15. He has a ceiling of 35 to 40. I think that's a great play this week, and he's a way cheaper alternative than Gronkowski. You got the Fozzie Bear at 3,600, but Fozzie Bear got the last laugh on all of us fantasy owners last week because he got 2 total touches. Yeah. The running back for the Panthers apparently is the rookie Curtis Artis-Payne.
Yeah.
And he's at 4,300. I have no problem if you want to play him, but he didn't have a phenomenal game last week. But the Falcons are the second worst team in the league against the run. So if he's going to do it against any team, Artis Payne should do it against the Falcons.
Yeah. And the coaching staff really seems to like him a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, that's otherwise, why would you abandon the Fozzie Bear? Like, everybody loves the Fozzie Bear. Poor guy. Never gets a real shot in the NFL. All right. Do you have anything to add on the Carolina side, bro?
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, it's just been unbelievable what the Carolina Panthers have been doing so far this season, being undefeated. And that all stems from Cam Newton, and that guy, is definitely the MVP this season so far. And just last week, just sick numbers, 47.9 points from your quarterback, and
100 rushing yards. He was over 100 rushing yards.
Yes, that's just gross. That's sick. And when you have the ability to do that, that's just a separator. But the question is he going to keep it up? Is he going to keep going at it with, you got to take the 14-0 season versus, okay, we're going to the playoffs. And, are we going to risk our, health of our quarterback and our possible Super Bowl aspirations to go undefeated? And I don't know if they're willing to do that. So I like Cam Newton, but I definitely like the aspect that, Rivera could go, well, we're just going to run the crap out of the ball this game. We're going up against one of the worst run defenses in the league.
Oh, yeah.
I am just on, Artis Payne in the ground with the Fozzie.
Absolutely. Coach's decision. I think what helps us here is that Arizona has been keeping pace, so they do still have to win out to get home field. But other than that, him pulling players is a severe concern. But let me get to the other severe concern, and that's the Falcons side. And well, here's the thing: Carolina, when they've hung all their 5 touchdown games, and Cam's had these monsters, it's been against teams that were able to hang one way or another that forced Cam Newton to have the action, right? Like, Cam Newton wasn't running for 100 yards unless they have to win that game, and those running lanes are open against the Giants. Like, I just don't see him doing that, because the Falcons are bad. And I mean really bad. Let's just look for a second. Freeman kind of showed up last week, and by kind of showed up, I mean he got a 23, but that doesn't hit value at his price tag or anywhere close to value. He needs actually 15 more points at his price tag to hit value. I'm sorry, he needed 10 more, but that week. But okay, so then you have Julio Jones, who had a 29.8 last week, but at $8,300, that doesn't pay off his price tag, bro. Like, he needs a 40 burger to get 5x that salary, and actually, it's more than that. And there's just no way he's going to pay off drawing Josh Norman. This isn't the crappy Jags secondary. Excuse me. It's Josh Norman, right? Julio's terrible. Matty Ice hasn't even gone past over 21 points since week 8. Like, this Falcons team is a dumpster fire, dude. And I can't trust them to pace with Carolina. I want the Carolina pieces. Part of me is instinctually in gut wanting to play them, and I've put them in several lineups that I have for this week. But I have a real game flow concern here, and not to mention the coaching aspect that you already talked about. And there's just 2 ways to do you dirty on Cam. It may be that you want to fade the Carolina-Atlanta game altogether.
Right. I agree with you there a little bit as well. I mean, as far as that goes, the only piece or aspect that I like total out of this whole game is the running back situation in Carolina. And the only reason I like that is because Payne is cheap. He's going to get opportunities. Regardless of game flow, if they decide that they want to run the ball and not, wear down Cam, they're going to run the ball. If they get up, they're going to run the ball.
Right.
All arrows just kind of point to the signs that they're going to run the ball the whole game.
Yeah.
And he's going to get his opportunities. I guarantee you he gets more than 20 rushing attempts this week when it comes to the game. And, at $4,300, that guy, he's going to pay off.
That's bold, dude, considering Fozzie's still there. I don't know that I can say he's going to go 20 plus, but I get why you would say that. Yeah. All right, man. I think that successfully wraps up that game. It's like everybody wants to make those plays. It's just going to be a tough one to do. And the game flow is just going to have to break right for all those guys to hit value. I think that takes us to Lear's second game, which is Jacksonville at New Orleans. This is the highest over-under of the week at 52. The Saints are currently favored by 3 points. Well, at least they were when these lines were originally posted. The lines have been pulled across the board because of the Drew Brees injury and the unknown about his status. With the rest of this game breakdown, go ahead and give it to us, Lear.
All right, man. So as far as this game goes, I mean, I'm definitely excited to watch this game. It is going to be two high-flying offenses with absolutely no defense whatsoever. Jacksonville's coming off a tough home loss against Atlanta in Week 15. Blake Bortles, Bortles, 6,500, had a decent day with a 25.28 last week with almost 300 yards and getting that bonus. So if he just would have had, I think it was 5 more yards, 3 to 5 more yards, he would have hit that 300-yard bonus. He has a sweet matchup again this week at 30 against the 32nd ranked pass defense in New Orleans. He should be hungry coming off the loss. Obviously disappointed that they didn't get the win last week. Then you've got Denard Robinson at running back at 5,400. He had an okay day at 15.4, 28 yards on the ground, but he did have 8 catches in the air for 46 yards. And he also goes against the 32nd ranked defense in New Orleans. So he's also got a sweet matchup. Then you've got Allen Robinson as far as wide receivers go. He 7,500 this week. He had a disappointing week with only a 14.7, but has a good matchup. He only had 5 targets last week, and he did have a touchdown. So, but he should definitely double his targets this week and have at least 10 targets, I would assume. And then Allen Hurns is 5,300, and he's questionable going into the game. He's just not seeing the targets like he was earlier in the season. He has put up 3 single-digit games out of his last 4 games. So kind of an eye-opening stat there on Hurns. 2 weeks ago he did go for 22, and he is 5,300. So basically, $2,200 less than Robinson. But he just doesn't get the amount of catches or targets that Robinson gets. And then you've got their other weapon in Julius Thomas at tight end at 5,100. That's a good value for a good quality tight end, especially in this potential high volume Jags offense. Last week he had 6 catches out of 9 targets to lead the team with 79 yards. His matchup, along with the rest of Jacksonville overall, is 32nd against the tight end. So pretty much New Orleans is ranked 32nd in almost every category against offensive teams. So I don't know why you wouldn't be on any of the Jacksonville pieces this week, because I'm going to be picking, definitely taking some Jacksonville guys.
Well, the one piece that I'm not sold on is Robinson. And I know it says that the Saints are 32nd against the pass, but look to the number 1 wide receivers that they have shut down.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's not from Bird helping out over the top, them giving safety help on the number 1s. And that's why the slots and the number 2s and the tight ends are just destroying them, as well as the running backs. So, if I was to avoid anybody, it would be Robinson here. But I love the Bortles play. I don't even mind the Denard Robinson play if he's healthy. I really like the Julius play, and I think what happens is Hurns goes bonkers again this week. I think what we saw was Julius ate into Hurns' totals, but I think what'll happen is with Robinson being shadowed, with the over/under coverage, that's how the Saints have been running ones. I think those 2 guys can pop. But once again, I think that we don't have a game flow issue here unless Brees is out with the injury, which
definitely
he might be.
But as far as that goes, I mean, I love some Bortles naked this week.
Oh wow, dude! Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a 50 feet, that you have to stay 50 feet away from Bortles now.
But I mean, I'm sorry, but New Orleans is horrible on defense, and you don't know possibly who's going to have the great game, but you do know that Bortles is going to be consistent, and he's going to have a good game. And he's not crazy expensive. He's $6,500. I know it's $1,000 less than Tom Brady and Cam Newton, but I just, with his matchup, and they're in the dome, I don't know. I could just see them coming out and just, like they did a few weeks back, and throw up a 50-pointer.
Yep, no, I can see that too. So I think to have that happen, though, the Saints have to show up And so, do you have any?
Yeah, I mean that's going to be.
Do you have any news?
On one gentleman,
Well,
and that's number 9 on New Orleans. The Saints are fresh off their Monday night defeat against the Lions. 35-27 was the final score there. Mm-hmm. Drew Brees, he's 6,800 this week. He had a 29.74 performance as far as points go, but also got hurt in the process with a torn plantar fascia, and thus he is questionable this week. Keep tuned in, for this decision if he plays. He is at home. This year he scores about double the points at home that he does versus on the road. Jacksonville's secondary is vulnerable, so Brees, if he does play, could have a great game. Then you got Timmy Hightower at 4,500. He's coming off an 11.5 point performance. Jacksonville ranks 24th against the run. That would come into play too. If Brees does not play and they play their backup, I mean, Hightower is going to get some serious volume. When it comes to game flow. So keep a heads up on that. Then you've got Brandon Cooks at 5,900. He had an absolutely sweet game last week with a 31.4 point performance, 10 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown. And could have had 2 touchdowns if he just would have caught his other one there, but it slipped out of his hands. But he's got a great matchup for him. Should produce huge again if Brees plays. That is the question mark right there. But for his salary and his explosiveness, I mean it's a win-win. Then you've got Willie Snead at 4,500. Also had a great game with a 17.6 at his price point. He had 10 catches for 76 yards, so he had a lot of targets. And Snead is obviously the cheaper option. But he will get his targets too. And then you also got the old Benny Watson at tight end at 5,300. He also had a good game. Not a great game, but just a decent game at a 16.9. Mm-hmm. Had 6 catches for 49 yards and a touch. So, Watson's also, especially 2 at home, is always a threat as well. And then you've got Brandon Coleman, who's 3,500. But unfortunately, he laid down a big, fat 0 last week. So, if you're playing in one of these huge contests, GPPs, even a cash game, I can't take the chance of that cheap dart. So just no Brandon Coleman for me anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm on Cooks and Watson. If Brees is in, if Brees is out, I'm not on any of them. I'm not even sure I want Hightower because I'm not sure the Jags won't put 9 in the box.
And that's understandable too.
And if Brees is out, I may have to get off Jags too. I don't know. It's a dilemma for sure this week.
And the Jags D probably is going to be a cheap option.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's so many backup quarterbacks this week. There are a lot of cheap defense options. And what's crazy is the 3 best defenses that are the highest price have 3 of the best matchups for defenses. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But let's first go to, did I pretty much wrap up Jacksonville and New Orleans?
Yep, I'm done, man.
All right. So let's go to my second game, which is Green Bay at Arizona. It's the second highest line of the week at 50 over-under. Zona is currently a 4.5 point favorite. Carson Palmer is $7,000. And, dude, he performs consistently on a week-in, week-out basis. Last week, he had a down week, which will keep his ownership percentages low. He is also one of the lower owned of the quarterbacks of the elite tier, which is funny because he's putting up better numbers than some of the higher guys that are higher owned and more expensive. I like Palmer this week in this matchup against Green Bay because the pack is broken defensively. You've got Elfitz at 7,100 and Floyd at 4,900 and sandwiched in between the two at 5,900 is Brown. I would much rather go with
Floyd.
Yeah, with Floyd if I had to. And for some reason, I accidentally clicked on the wrong thing and lost you for a second. There, you're back. So they got a nice screenshot of a blank screen there for a couple of seconds. But yeah, guys, it's really simple to me that the Cardinals are just monsters when it comes offensively, and they don't let off the gas. It's Arians' philosophy. I think you can go. You can run it back with the running back. He's only 5,800 this week. He's coming off a 46-point performance, like massive showing. Like he can easily run it back against this Packers team, especially if the Packers don't show up. I just love this Zona team, dude. Like they've been paying off dividends in fantasy, and this week it looks like a good stack for me is Palmer, L. Fitz, and Floyd, and then possibly on other teams using the running back. That way you're hedging both sides of that game flow. But that's just me on the Arizona side. What do you have?
Yeah, I like Arizona this week, obviously, to get some things done at home there against Green Bay. But I also, too, as far as the Green Bay side, they've been playing a lot better than what they have in the past. And,
yeah. No, I'm getting to breaking them down here in a second. Like, I just did it kind of out of order.
As far as Arizona, though, I mean, Carson Palmer had just an okay game last week. Their game flow or the way that game went was David Johnson.
Oh, I know, dude. Like, and that's.
I think that's going to also come into play again this week because I think that they're also obviously known that they're going to go to the playoffs, and just having the ability to be at home, not really giving Carson Palmer the opportunity to get hurt before they go into the playoffs, because that has happened, the last couple of years.
No, for sure, dude. But here's my argument. Either Aaron Rodgers and the crew shows up, which forces Palmer, L. Fitz, and Floyd to pay off, right? Sure. Or they're a dumpster fire, in which case David Johnson pays off. That's why, like, you do the split there. Like, you're going.
I get you. Yeah, because I think either way, Arizona's a favorite in this one. Yeah. It's just going to depend on game flow and how everything plays out.
Well, and it was Christmas, so I wanted to start you off with the nice side of this matchup. I'm going to tell you I'm not playing the Green Bay Packers at all, and they're broken, and here's why. Rodgers at 7,000 has only paid off his price tag 2 times this season. Twice. That includes the recent little hot streak. He has paid off. Nice. Yeah. Bet you didn't know that. The second thing is that Cobb has paid off his price tag once since week 3. Week 3 against Kansas City. Like, I just can't play these guys. Like, it doesn't make sense to pay $6,100 for him. Oh, and let's not forget Lacy, who at $4,900 against a stellar matchup in the Raiders last week, crapped down fantasy owners' legs. So now you can't.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, so was I. So that means 2 out of the 3 weeks so far in December, supposedly Eddie Lacy's prime zone of like when he just turns it on, 2 out of 3 weeks he's been a complete turd burglar. Like, I'm just like, dude, that team is broke offensively. They're broke defensively. I can't figure him out. And when you're putting money on the line, either in a cash game or a tournament, it's just not worth it to me. Like, what's the high side?
Their defense last week against the Raiders in all of our lineups. They did score me 14 points, but that was also too on a couple mistakes by Carr. But with who they're playing as far as this week in Rodgers, I just don't think he's going to make the same mistakes as David Carr, obviously.
Right.
And obviously they're on the road too, so I'm definitely not going to be about them. But I'm also with you overall as far as the Green Bay Packers are concerned. I am not touching any Green Bay Packers this week.
No, dude, my thing is, and I will be the first to congratulate someone. If someone hits on a Green Bay stack and they win a lot of money, win millions of dollars, whatever, I'll congratulate them and congratulate them on being a great guesser. Because the numbers of that team show that you are just straight guessing on fantasy production from that team. Like, that's what the Green Bay Packers are this year. And, like, I've chased them one too many times and lit money on fire one too many times. So if they burn me this week, awesome, whatever. That just, like, it sucks, but it's a reality. I can't trust that team, and I won't. So, all right, I think that'll wrap up our game-by-game breakdown in depth. We'll now move on to our sneaky value plays. Lear, who do you have for us this week at a sneaky value play?
My sneaky value play, I have more analysis on him, but we already kind of talked about him a little bit. But it's got to be Bilal Powell. Powell is $3,900. I mean, that's just a criminally insane price for a guy who's put up some good numbers 3 weeks in a row. He's just been the guy as far as fantasy points in the backfield for the Jets. And I look for that trend to continue this week. They play New England, and they will most likely be playing for the lead or trying to catch up in that game. So Who's going to be in there? It's the pass-catching running back, and that's going to be Bilal Powell. He has scored 24.8, 19.2, and 20.9 in his last 3 games. And obviously, being the pass-catching running back, he has the potential to pay off more than 5 times his salary, which you got to love that. And he could explode for even more than that, up to 7, 8 times. So love me some Powell this week against the New England Patriots. And I just don't see how you cannot stick this guy on one of your main lineups this week because the matchup's just way too sexy.
No, I completely agree. I actually had him as my sneaky value play. I think everyone should know that as well. Before we exchanged them to make sure we didn't double up, I was like, "Lear, you're punk." That was my guy too. I think he's obvious. The one thing that concerns me, if I'm just playing devil's advocate here, is if the Patriots fail to score with Amendola, that Jets front 7 is fierce, right? And they stop the run really well. If Amendola is out, that lets them focus on Gronky Kong. I'm not sure that there's ways that the Patriots can put up a lot of points in this game if that game flow goes that way. I'm just running out a scenario of game flow.
That could happen.
Or the Jets could get up for once against this team. And then, in which case, you're using Ivory, not Powell. That's my one worry with Powell. But other than that, I really love the play. I think they'll be behind. I just want to play devil's advocate for a second.
And when it comes to that, though, too, and, you also count snaps, and he's got to be right up there with the same amount of snaps as Ivory, these last 3 weeks. So, I think they're looking at a 50-50 split there with Todd Bowles as the coach. I think he likes what Powell brings to the running back position, not only, in the passing game, but also blocking for Fitzgerald as well versus Ivory. So definitely like me some Bilal Powell.
Fair enough. All right, bro. Let's go to my sneaky value play, which is Blake Bell, the tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. He's min salary at $2,500, and he is the guy. You guys are going to, joke, laugh probably, while I'm telling you this. But after Vance McDonald dropped several balls, 3 of them, all 3 of which were for first downs, they just decided to not throw the ball again to Vance McDonald. And I think the Niners finally realized, hey, we're a dumpster fire. And we have this tight end that we drafted late that we really like, Blake Bell. So why not give him a shot, especially since Vance can't catch? And, that's been the story on Vance since his beginning in the NFL. So after that, Blake Bell caught 4 balls for 43 yards. At that alone, he paid off 4 times his salary. You get a TD in there, you're talking 8 times salary, right? I just think that his potential is crazy high. And to be able to punt, if you're going to punt a position, tight end is one of the best positions to punt. And it's min salary. He makes a great play when his base should be an 8.
No, I like it, man, because it just gives you a lot more flexibility to other positions to round out your lineup. But I'm personally not, on the Bell play this week. But as far as that goes, he's definitely a sneaky play because not a lot of people are going to be on that Bell play.
Right on. All right, Lear, who's your guy to pay up for production this week? If you got to own one guy and pay up for him, who's it going to be?
I don't know how you could not pick this guy, but I'm rolling with Antonio Brown. He's $9,300. He's the most expensive player available this week on DraftKings at that $9,300 price point. So he's coming off a absolute monster game with a 49.9 point performance. 16 catches for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has a sick matchup and should go ham against the 30th ranked defense in Baltimore. They've just been a sieve all year long to wide receivers. The Steelers are fighting for a playoff spot. It's a no-holds-barred type of time of year. Look for Brown to have another high explosive game, and he will need to be in your lineup. He's just hard to build lineups around this week because of that price point, and also, Papa mentioned it too about Julio Jones last week, but, to pay off for his production, he has to have at least a 40-point performance to pay off, where you took him at there. So I love me some Brown this week, but like I said, he's hard to build lineups around, and he has to get that 40 mark, which he's definitely capable of, and I think he has a really good, legitimate chance of doing as well.
All right. I'm going to tackle all the arguments for why I disagree with you when we get to Oberon in a second. I understand where you're at, and I think a lot of people are going to be there, and I'll break it down. Let's just skip
Yeah.
ahead to my pay up for production guy, which is Gronk at 7,600. I know he hasn't reached value as of late, and I've been preaching value most of this show. But it looks like Edelman and Amendola are likely out, and with Revis locking down the fell, like I said earlier, the offense should run through Gronky Kong. The cool thing is Gronk never craps out your team. Even in the games where he's had bad games, there were 8-pointer and like a 6.9. It's not going to terribly destroy you. Now it will at that salary, but but realistically, a bad game for him is 18 to 22 points, right? With his monster being 35 to 45. Like, I just think that if there's anybody that I'm going to count on with injuries and game flow scenario, Gronk has the best of all of those things, right? He's the only healthy receiving option that won't be covered by Revis. He's they're against a team that should be able to score a lot. That should necessitate Gronk's usage, and Gronk should pay off. And at 7,600, it's way easier to pay off him than it is the premier wideouts. But that's my argument for why I pay up for Gronk this week.
No, I definitely love me some Gronk this week, and I also too I thought about putting him in, for my discussion this week. But I do like Gronk, but at that price point, he definitely has to pay off.
Fair enough. I completely agree. All right, man. Who's your over-owned guy?
My over-owned guy this week is Mr. David Johnson from the University of Northern Iowa. Arizona running back. He's $5,800 this week. He had his career best game last week with a 47.9, 187 yards and 3 touchdowns, along with 4 catches for 42 yards. He has a tough paper matchup against the 9th-ranked rush defense in Green Bay, but people will chase, his last game, obviously, and in my opinion, as they should, because, like Johnson this week, but he will be highly owned, and I would definitely own him for GPP purposes, but for possible cash games, I don't know if I would own him just because of how much he could be owned. But I like David Johnson. I think he'll have a great game, as I think that flow will be running the ball again. But I just think he will be a really high-owned guy at that price point and his production last week.
I don't know if he's going to be high-owned or not, but I'm all over it. Like, I like that play again this week, and I
don't know if that number 9 in the red is going to scare people away from his name.
I think that and the price jump will scare people away. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. But
because he was 4,500 last week,
45 or 43 somewhere. It was ridiculously cheap. It was so cheap, you really should have played him everywhere. The problem was last week is Eddie Lacy was $100 cheaper, and so and I split the lineups. But oh well. My over-owned guy this week is Antonio Brown at 9,300, and I think the casuals will chase his 49.9 monster from last week. I would say that there is close to a 0% chance he rolls it back even against this crappy secondary. Why? Because if you go through the game log since they lost Flacco, the Ravens have not scored more than their offense, their actual offense has not scored more than 2 touchdowns a game. Like, they're good for 2 touchdowns and a field goal, basically. I don't think that necessitates Antonio Brown's big games. If you look through the slate, Antonio Brown seems to show up with these monsters when teams show up against them. When teams don't show up against them, it's the running back show. And I think this is why, D'Angelo is the better play here. I think people are going to chase this passing attack. And like I said, I think there's 0 chance he rolls back the 49 burger. And honestly, on your point evaluation, he has to hit 45 points to pay off a $9,300 price tag. And actually, if you count the 3, it becomes closer to 48. So, yeah, dude, I can't do it this week. I think it's an easy fade. I realize Baltimore secondary is just garbage, but how are they going to score points in that game, dude?
No, I totally agree with you there. I mean, that's the one thing, though, is Pittsburgh's defense is a sieve as well.
Yeah,
when it comes to the passing game. So I think that Kmart Aiken, he'll get some opportunity there. But I just don't think that they'll be able to score the points to keep up with the Browns. But I still think that as far as production is concerned, like Brown might not have, a touchdown in the game, but he might have, fucking 18 catches for.
Why would they throw? Why would a playoff team throw the ball 18 times against a team they should be murdering by the end of the first quarter? That's my question.
Right. I understand that, but I still think that Brown will get production. But like you said, I mean, he's got to pay off at a 45-point clip, which is going to be hard to get. I understand that.
Fair enough. With that said, dude, who's your under-owned guy this week?
My under-owned guy is C. Artis Payne, the running back for Carolina Panthers. He's 4,300. He's got obviously the bulk of the work last week over the Fozzie Whitaker. And his coaching staff, like I said, really likes him. He has a sweet matchup against Atlanta, who ranks 29th against the run defense. Carolina's basically clinched the playoffs. And I think, this is the week that they start, saving Cam for the playoffs and just run the ball all game. He's a cheap dart, 4,300. And I think most people will go with like a Cam Olsen Ginn type of combo without really thinking about the running back part of this, because it was kind of such a dumpster last week, both of them. But this will be, one of those times where it would put you on an island. And, this kid, I think, has potential of reaching having a 20, 25, maybe even a 30-point game.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love the play and like your reasoning there. I think it's solid, especially the ownership percentage analysis that you just gave. My under-owned is for very similar reasons. He's just more expensive. Mine's DeAngelo Williams. I think just like you said, everybody and their brothers are going to be on this pass game. Like, they're going to see the Ravens stat. They're going to see the red number next to the Ravens run D, which is hilarious because everybody's torched them on the ground too. I don't know how that's a red number. But, yeah, dude, DeAngelo at 6,500, people will be way under-owned, especially with all the cheap options and the premier options. I think people will also chase Freeman off of his 20-point game that didn't pay out. I think people will pay up and pay down. They won't hit those guys right in the middle, and DeAngelo is one of them.
Yeah, no, I like that, man. I couldn't agree with you more.
Sweet. With that said, even all the way in Michigan, Lear, I'm smelling something funky over there.
Man.
I think it smells like hot, wet garbage. Who's your dumpster fire of the week, buddy?
All right. So I know, sometimes we don't always agree, but I'm not feeling it this week. But I think Mr. Carson Palmer is not going to have a very good week this week. I was right last week about the DeAngelo play. He didn't, have a horrible week. It was a 16-pointer, but he didn't blow up either as far as DeAngelo. But I think Carson Palmer at 7,000. He's playing, this week against Green Bay. Palmer didn't have a high-scoring game last week because that Arizona relied on that run game with Johnson taking over. I say Arizona will stay the course with that same game plan in mind this week at home, saving Palmer for the playoffs and just giving the ball to Johnson and let him work the whole entire game. Palmer's only scored last week was 14.96. And I look for him to have the similar production. So he's not going to pay off at that $7,000 price. Now, he might have a little bit more. He might score 20, but still, at a $7,000 price point, is that really worth your 20 points, paying up $7,000 for Palmer? No, there's other better options out there that you're going to have to take home that GPP. So I just say avoid Palmer this week because he does have the chance to, lay it on you and not pay off. Not saying I don't like Palmer. I'm just saying that he's not going to pay off this week because I think that the game flow is going to be all about the run. And so I just stay away from Palmer.
I completely disagree respectfully. I value your opinion. Like I said, if you're right, that means that Johnson's just a monster and you got to have him.
Yeah.
If you're wrong, like you definitely want all those guys. But yeah, my dumpster fire is like not only am I morally conflicted because he's one of my favorite players, if not one of my favorite players of all time, but I just like for some reason in tournaments across the board last week on all the sites, his ownership percentage was huge, and it keeps being high. And Megatron, Calvin Johnson, you're one of my football heroes, but man, you're broke right now, bro. Like you are just being used as a decoy. It is obvious. Do not fall for the trap. He's cheap at 7,400. It'll try to entice you. I saw people get wrapped up in it last week. Hell, I even wrapped up in it with one lineup last week and lit it on fire. Like, Golden Tate's clearly the guy that the Lions are throwing the ball to. And they're even my random guess prediction, gut feeling of Ebron was right last week. And they're throwing to him now. Megatron is, until he can get healthy and be healthy, like, he's just not an option in DFS. Like, it pains me to say because he's won me a lot of money over the years, but I just don't. Why are people still owning him as bad as he's been?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Megatron is a legend, but no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, he's definitely out there just going through the motions. There's something obviously wrong with him, and they're just using him out there to help be that decoy. But that's the thing I don't understand is if he truly is indeed hurt, they are 5-9. What are you doing playing for the rest?
I don't know why they didn't bench him, like, because this has clearly been bothering him since the Thanksgiving monster, right? The next game, he clearly injured it. And give the guy extra rest, man. If it needs surgery, let's get it surgery. Let's get the greatest wide receiver of all time back playing like he should be. That's, right. And I mean, no offense to you, Jerry Rice, because you're still the greatest receiver of all time, but,
Yeah, and you can get yourself in a better position to get a nice higher draft pick to help your team, for next year. But no, I definitely like the Golden Tate aspect as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm definitely off Calvin Johnson. Good 2015, brother, but we'll see you back in 2016.
That's spot on there. All right, let's quick hit the rest of these games that we haven't got to cover. We have a little shorter slate than normal. All right, we got Chicago at Tampa Bay. It's a 46 over-under. Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite. You got Winston at 5,500, Doug Martin at 66, Evans at 73, Safarian Jenkins is a value tight end at 38. Chris Humphreys at 3,300 is a nice close to min-val wide receiver. If VJax is out, and it sounds currently like they're going to shelve VJax for the season. Do you have anything to add on the Tampa side, bro?
Well, I like some Alshon Jeffrey this week. I know that he is questionable going into the game, but basically where he's at, I mean, he's $7,200, but I just don't know if I can trust Jay Cutler to get it done in Tampa. So, and overall, I mean, Doug Martin is also a nice little play here, but he's $6,600, and
he's one of those guys that I think people pay up for. It's going to be paying up for him, AP, and Devontae this week, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's as far as his 2015 season, he's had a good season. It's just you don't know if you're going to get to Doug Martin that scores 10 points or if you're going to get to Doug Martin that scores 32 points. That's the thing. You just want to pick him the weeks. He obviously scores 32, but when you always have big expectations for the muscle hamster, he always kind of seems to let you down. So I'm kind of off. I'm not on this game this week at all.
I know, I'm not either. That's what makes me think Doug Martin's going to drop a 40 burger.
That's how it always goes.
I know, it is. All right, the next game is Cleveland at Kansas City. It's a 43.5 over-under. Kansas City's currently favored by 12.5 at home. The only plays here, like Smith, just like as much as I like him, as cheap as he is, he just never really ascends to value. And I think most of that is because of how good the defense is. I think that's your primary play here at 4,200. They're one of the most expensive defenses, but so far they've been worth it this year, fantasy-wise.
Yeah. And then as far as like the running back situation, I mean, you got Sharkandrick West. He's $5,700. He had a decent week last week. He scored, in the teens. He had a 16.5. But he's only $5,700, and Cleveland's ranked 20th against the run. And he's always going to be a threat to run it and take it to the house like he did last week. As far as the Cleveland side of the running game, you've got Isaiah Crowell. He's $3,700. But let's be honest here, Kansas City's running defense is really, really good, and they're playing at home. So I'm not really about to take a chance on that, either with the Duke Johnson play. So pretty much out on that. Only thing I would take here is possibly Sharkandrick West. And Spencer Ware is questionable.
Yeah. I don't think I can play West if Ware is good to go. Like, if they dress him like last week but won't use him, where they say that, yes, I'm all over West. But I just think they're I don't like those two-headed backfields. You know me. I'd rather have a guy that's taking the lone carries all by himself. But
and as far as like the wide receivers, you got Macklin, 6,000. Travis, as far as that goes, I mean, not very many other options on Kansas City. You got Albert Wilson, who's been playing better as of late and becoming somewhat of an option, but he only scored a 7.5 last game with 4 catches for 27 yards. But he did almost have a 20-pointer before that. But that's just throwing a dart out there. As far as the Cleveland side, you've got Travis Benjamin, who's 4,300. Now, both these defenses rank in the higher 20s, 28th and 26th against the pass. So, little food for thought there. And then you also have Gary Barnidge, the Barnyard Dog, is 4,700.
Except the Chiefs are number 1 against tight ends and have shut down Gates twice and have shut down other tight ends. Like, no thank you.
Right.
Anything else there?
Yeah, and then you got Travis Kelce, 4,300. Cleveland does actually rank pretty good against the tight end at 6. But Kelce, he's been doing well this year. He did make the Pro Bowl. Congratulations, sir.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm going to call out my hometown boy, dude. He does not deserve to make the Pro Bowl. Delaney Walker deserved that spot, and it is a travesty that Travis Kelce's garbage self is there on fantasy recognition when Delaney Walker is the better tight end, the better blocker, the better pass catcher, and the better fantasy player. But that's just me. I had to get that out of my system. Sorry.
I agree. No problem.
And I'm saying that as a diehard Chiefs fan, people.
Oh, yeah.
It was wrong.
And I think Delaney Walker this year has obviously made a name for himself, when it comes to fantasy. And I think he's starting to build that rapport or that reputation, with the NFL overall community, but also fantasy too.
Speaking of which, that transitions us to Houston at Tennessee. Tennessee is currently a 4.5-point favorite, but this game has been pulled as well because of the quarterback situation. It looks like it will be Brandon Weeden versus Zach Mettenberger.
What?
Yeah. Dude, I think that makes even Hopkins and Walker off limits. Like, as much as I just railed for Delaney Walker and as much as I love the guy, and as much as DeAndre is a stud, do you know at all how that game flow is going to go with 2 backups?
Yeah, not a clue.
I kind of want the Texans' defense. Kind of, against Mettenberger.
Yeah.
And they're one of the cheaper defenses, so.
I mean, it makes sense to make that play. But on the other hand, too, it's just one of those, it's a question mark. It could be 3-0, or it could be 41-32.
I just don't think there's any way that Mettenberger can score 30 points on that Houston defense, especially since Houston is in the playoffs right now. That's the division winner. All right. Dallas at Buffalo is a 43 over-under. Buffalo is favored by 6 points at home. I have the only play that I'm interested in this game is Carlos Williams, who will be getting the entire workload at 4,500.
I actually will disagree with you there because I like the other guy in the backfield. I like Mike Gillislee, and he's 4,500, same as Carlos Williams. But Williams is questionable going into the game, and Mike Gillislee is not. But it just really depends. I mean, did they already come out and say Carlos Williams is going to play?
The last I read was that they were expecting him to go. But, all right, keep an eye out. If it's Gillislee, go Gillislee. The Cowboys aren't that good against the run, and their season's done.
And here's the crazy part is this guy, he had a 16.3 last week.
No, for sure.
He only had 4 attempts, so 4 rushing attempts for 81 yards and a touchdown.
Right, so it's touchdown variance, and a big run. I get you. I would rather chase the steady points from Williams that I know are going to get there from more attempts.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying if Carlos Williams is out.
Yeah, if he's out, for sure, Gillislee.
Yeah.
All right, Indy at Miami. Another backup of a backup of a backup for Indy versus Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins, who are such dumpster fires as a whole team. I'm sorry, dude. The guy that can tell me they can predict that Miami team, whatever, dude.
I mean, Lamar Miller with only a 4-point performance last week. You killed me, Lamar Miller.
Dude, killed you, killed teams of mine. Like, dude, how against San Diego?
Yes, and it was one of the sexiest matchups. I just don't.
They're literally the worst team against the run, and he gets a 4. I'm sorry, dude. Not playable. Like, like Wow. Tannehill is also garbage. Up and down and up and down. Like, dude, no. I'm sorry. I don't like any of the weapons. I don't know how game flow is gonna go here. Like, Indy is a dumpster fire on defense. So is Miami. But, like, do you trust either of these teams to actually score?
I don't know, man. I think it could possibly be. I mean, Indianapolis's defense is so horrible, and they're on the road, which they're not a good defensive team away on the road. I don't know. I could see a scenario like Jacksonville put a beat down on Indy a couple weeks ago. I could see Miami coming out and just blowing the doors off of Indianapolis on the road.
Fair enough.
I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not going to put Ryan Tannehill and a combo of him and Lamar Miller or him and Landry in a really serious, like, our main event. I would not put him in that. Something I would put him in is more of like a hitch and go that we would do, something like that, where it could be a possibility that he hits. But
maybe like line up 8, 9, or 10, like down the line. Like once you've exhausted all the legitimate resources, that's right.
Yeah, but he's definitely worth a dart, I think.
I guess I see what you're saying there for the dart. I actually kind of like that. All right, the next game is Pitt at Baltimore. It's a 47.5 over/under. Pittsburgh is currently favored as a road favorite by 10. We've already pretty much covered this game in the game flow. I don't think we need to tackle it anymore. Basically, it's D'Angelo or the offensive attack and Aiken. Right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that takes us to, we've got 3 games left, and then we're wrapping up the show. It's St. Louis at Seattle. It's a 40.5 over/under with the Seahawks as 13.5 favorites. I mean, dude, Russell Wilson's clearly a play. Baldwin's clearly a play at 6,700. Tyler Lockett's a play at 4,500. Dude, all Seahawks are in play, in my opinion, and they've just been murdering people. I think it's the lack of running game since Rawls broke his leg, too. Like, they just have to throw the ball to do anything on offense. And
and that's going to kick up Russell Wilson's production, too, on the ground as well.
Mm-hmm.
In St. Louis, that was a good game. That was week 1 when they played in St. Louis. And, St. Louis beat them. And I think, Seattle has some revenge in them, and they're on a nice streak here. I could see it to where, even though St. Louis has a pretty good defense, I think Seattle playing at home is going to just go ham on them.
A couple things we need to look out for, too. St. Louis's defense is not nearly as good on the road as they are at home.
Right.
Just another heads up, Baldwin was sitting out today with a hamstring injury. So if he's a no-go, Lockett becomes a must-start, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Baldwin will be good to go. I think after 13 touchdowns, 10 of which came in the last 3 weeks, like
that's
Baldwin needs some hamstring rest.
Yeah, he needs to go take half a day and go on the bike.
The only 2 players for the St. Louis side that are even remotely interesting are one Todd Gurley and one dynamic wide receiving option in Tavon Austin. But you just never know when the game's going to come. He's like he's a less consistent and a less dynamic version of a Ted Ginn Jr., in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, those are the 2 guys you can have options from there. The next game is New York Giants at Minnesota. And for some reason, I don't have the over-under on these last 2 games. So I'm sure the Minnesota's a home favorite. I believe it's 3 points. AP is the play here for me. Like, even though he's coming off a bad game, I think he's going to be low.
Injured. I mean, he took a decent hit, and I mean, he possibly might not play this game. He's questionable, so I don't know if he's going to play or not.
Yeah, dude, this is the problem that I have, right? he and his coach say it's not a big deal, that he's okay to play, and yet they didn't play him last week after the injury. Whereas David Johnson got hit, got taken out, went to locker room, came back out, and then had the monster. Right? Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, are they shelving it? Like, they're still in that playoff race against Green Bay. Like, I don't know why they would shelve AP. I think he has to have a monster, and the Giants are terrible. Like, I don't know.
Well, and here's the thing: is the Minnesota's playing at home. As far as Stephon Diggs, I mean, the guy's been in the dumps for a while and finally had a breakout game again. He's only 4,400 this week and going up against 28th ranked defense in the New York Giants. But Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, he came out of the woodwork last week and scored a 32.9. I mean,
yeah, Teddy Bridgewater. I'm sorry, man. Teddy Bridgewater's hasn't even remotely came close to that. That's touchdown variance. Like, look at his stat line, bro.
Yeah, he had 231 yards throwing, 4 touchdowns. I mean,
right, and a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, and one was a rushing touchdown. So yeah,
like, dude, even though the Giants' defense is awful, I can't play him, because without the touchdown variance, he's an 18-point guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
All right, so with Odell Beckham out, losing his suspension.
Yeah. I like Ruben Randall.
Dude, I don't at all, and you couldn't pay me to play him. Minnesota has an elite corner as well, and he'll get shut down, dude. Like, there's just no question about it. Like, I don't see, and I do think Will Tye is a sneaky play here. And if they're going to be behind, that means the hands back, what's his name? Why am I blanking?
Vereen.
What? Yeah, Vereen. Vereen should have a nice game. Other than that, though, do you really like Randall against that stingy Vikings pass D?
I really do, man. I think he's going to be sneaky and he's going to get his targets regardless of who's on him or not. I think Eli Manning is going to. That's why Eli Manning has a lot of interceptions, because he throws balls into situations that are not always safe, because he lives life dangerously, and I kind of like that sometimes. So I think he's still going to give Ruben Randall his targets, though.
I think without Odell Beckham, this might be one of those 3-point weeks for Eli Manning.
It could. They could stack the box.
You and I aren't in agreement about a whole lot this week, are we, Lear?
Yeah.
All right, man. This brings us to the last game. Cincinnati at Denver. We've got backup quarterbacks galore here as well.
Yeah. That's just the crazy part is dealing with, these guys and the backup quarterbacks and still fighting for playoff, spots. But as far as that game goes, I mean, I do like the running backs for Cincy. But as far as Denver, I mean, is he going to play?
I mean, does it matter? Osweiler's a 15-point-a-week guy, even with the good games Demaryius and Sanders had last week. He was still 17.
Defense is really good.
No, that's the only play. That's what I was waiting for you to get to. Is I like the Broncos D, and I think it's really the only play in this game, because I don't trust AJ McCarron for anything. And,
especially in that environment.
Well, and at Mile High and Aqib Talib shadowing AJ Green.
You're taking and the pressure of Monday night too.
Plus, no Eifert on the field either still. So, you're literally giving a backup quarterback without his ability to utilize 2 of his best weapons. I don't know what that game's going to be, and I tend to favor the Denver defense there. And at 3,400, they're a nice alternative to the Chiefs at 42. That's quite a bit of a savings. But that wraps up the show for this week. We'll be back next week with Murph to wrap up the regular season, week 17, with the final. We might do a couple playoff shows. But with that said, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, share, favorite, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook, social media, whatever, however you want to help us get the word out about the show. We'd appreciate it. Thanks again for giving us your time and for watching. Hopefully we make a lot of money this week. And
especially in that contest that we're in. So
yeah. We will be in the $4 million main event, the $1,500 seat. Yeah, I've got a couple seats in that right now, and hopefully we'll get a couple more. So you can check me out there this week and hopefully get it done. I want Santa Claus to bring me $1 million present. A couple days late. I'll even let you be a couple days late, Santa. I need that to happen Sunday night into Monday.
But we appreciate all the love, everybody, and thanks for watching the show. I know it takes dedication, but we try to bring the best show that we can to you each week. But I hope all of you have a great Christmas with your families this weekend.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, and I just want to thank you for all the effort and time you put in, dude. Like, we could be like any other show, bro, and just give people picks, but I think we do something unique here, breaking down games the way we do and breaking down plays and arguing it out. Most people won't do that. So hopefully the people that watch, all our friends and viewers get good value out of this, and hopefully it's making you money. Hopefully it's making us more money, but we hope we're all making money.
All right. Money team.
You guys have a good one. Peace out. Thanks for watching.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.